Hello, students. How have you been? I hope that you are doing very well by the grace of Almighty Allah, and I'm also doing very well. I know that you are enjoying new videos every day. I am very pleased to be with you again. This is your English teacher, Tania Ahmed. So, welcome back to our today's English class. Today, I am going to talk about conditional sentences. Let's enjoy the video. At first, we have to know what is a conditional sentence. Conditional sentences are statements discussing known factors or hypothetical situations and their consequences. Complete conditional sentences contain a conditional clause, often referred to as the if clause, and the consequence. Let me make it simple for you, although conditional sentences are complex sentences. We already know that complex sentences are made of two clauses. One is the principal clause and the other one is subordinate clause. We already know that the principal clause or the subordinate clause, any one of the two may take place at the beginning of the sentence. We already know that subordinate clauses are also known as dependent clause because these clauses are not complete in their meaning. In conditional sentences, subordinate clauses are condition on which the result depends. So, in this type of sentences, these clauses are known as if clause. For example, my teacher gets angry if I am late for school. Here, my teacher gets angry. This clause is the principal clause because this is complete in its sense. But if I am late for school, this is the subordinate clause or the dependent clause, and this is not complete in its sense. We can make the sentence in another way. Let's see. If I am late for school, my teacher gets angry. In this case, the subordinate clause comes first and we have to put a comma just after the subordinate clause, and then comes the principal clause, my teacher gets angry. There are four types of conditional sentences: zero conditional sentence, first conditional sentence, second conditional sentence, and third conditional sentences. Let's see some example of conditional sentences. If I wake up early, I go jogging. If I have enough time, I'll watch the football match. Notice that in these two examples, the subordinate clause or the if clauses are in the simple present tense. Next, you see, if I had wings, I would fly. In this case, the if clause is in the past tense. And in the last example, if he had been careful, he wouldn't have had that terrible accident. In this case, the subordinate clause is in the past perfect tense. So let's go in detail. First comes zero conditional sentences. In these conditionals, the if clause is in the simple present tense and the main clause is also in the simple present tense. And these zero conditional sentences are general truths. Let's have a look at the image. What can you see? Yes, the boy is having junk food and also too much food. So what happens? If we take too much food, it will ruin our health. So let's go for the Example, if people eat too much, they get fat. In the first clause, it is in the simple present tense and also the main clause in the simple present tense. Another example, if I miss the bus, I'm late for school. If I oversleep, I miss the bus. If babies are hungry, they cry. We all know that, don't we? Next comes first conditional sentences. In these sentences, the if clause is in the simple present tense, and in the main clause after the subject, we have to use the modals like will or can or may or must, and then comes the V1 form of the verb. And this type of conditionals are possible and very likely that the condition will be fulfilled. Let's have a look at the image. Can you tell me what is the image of? Yes, you're right. This is the image of the clock tower. So we can say, if I go to London, I will see the Big Ben. You see, the if clause or the subordinate clause is in the simple present tense and the main clause is in future tense. For another example, if I have enough money, I will go to Japan. If it doesn't rain, I will see you tomorrow. So in the first conditional sentences, the if clause will be in the simple present tense and the main clause will be in the future tense. Next comes second conditional sentences. In these sentences, the if clause will be in the simple past tense, and in the main clause after the subject you have to use would, could or might, and then comes the V1 form of the verb. And this condition is possible but very unlikely that the condition will be fulfilled. Let's have a look at this image. What can you see? Birds. I wish I could fly like a bird. As an example of second conditional sentence, we can say, were I a bird, I would fly. You see, in the first clause, it is not, if is not used here, but actually the sentence is an if clause. The sentence could be written in this way also. If I were a bird, I would fly. For another example, had I enough money, I could start a business. If I were a king, I would help the poor. This sentence could also be like this. Were I a king, I would help the poor. So these are all examples of second conditional sentences. Next comes the third type of conditional sentence. In this type of conditional sentences, the if clause is in the past perfect tense, and in the main clause, after the subject, you have to use would, could, might, plus have, plus verb. Actually, this type of third conditional sentences are impossible. That means the condition will not be fulfilled. For example, you look at the picture. What do you see? This man has made impossible possible. And in the second picture, you can see success. Go get it. So we can say that if you work hard, you can succeed in life. And if we want to make it an example of third conditional sentence, we can say, if you had worked hard, you would have succeeded in life. That means if the if clause is in the past perfect tense, like had worked, in a main clause we have to use after the subject would, could, or might. Here would has been used, so after would comes have plus V3 form of the verb succeed. It is succeeded in life. For another example, had I seen her before, I would have disclosed the truth. And another example, if I hadn't been ill, I would have gone to the concert. Now let's see the structure of 4 types of conditional sentences at a glance. For 0 conditional sentences, the structure is if plus simple present tense plus simple present tense. For example, if you hit ice, it melts. For first conditional, if plus simple present tense plus subject plus shall or will or can or may plus V1 plus extension. For example, if you have studied well, you will pass the examination. Second conditional, the structure is if plus simple past tense plus subject plus would, could, might plus V1 plus extension. For example, were I a bird, I would fly at large. And the last one, third conditional sentence, the structure is if plus past perfect tense plus subject plus would or could or might plus have plus V3 form of the verb plus extension. And example maybe, had I seen her before, I would have disclosed the truth. Dear students, that's all for today's English class. I hope that you have enjoyed the video and it will help a lot to understand conditional sentences clearly. Thank you so much for watching the full video and see you next time.